we now have Mr. Lanre Sulola, who is joining us. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic. Yes, I am okay. I was just talking with my microphone on mute for a good few seconds before I realized, so it's a great start to the evening. But hey, we're up and running now. We're all ready to go. I'm excited to have you here. So thanks so much for spending your time with us this evening.
That's all good. Real pleasure. Looking forward to the conversation. Yeah, it's great to see some of the work that you're doing. So it's inspiring. So yeah, it's a real pleasure to be on the show.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's very seldom that I actually hear feedback in terms of what's happening here. But, you know, my vision is kind of beyond feedback. I kind of do feel passionate about helping people, and I'm hoping that all of these interviews will help people to see. I really do. I title the events Grow Your Potential. I really want to unlock the potential that's in people, because I feel that there is so much people have to give. And, you know, it's stories. You know, stories is what really does drive us. We're inspired by information, but we're driven by stories. Sometimes we hear a story and it really does propel us forward. So I want to interview as many people as I can, get their stories out there. Like yourself, we're going to get into who you are and what your journey is. So let me not waste any more time babbling on about my vision. Let's get straight into it tonight. So Lanre, tell us, for people watching, maybe they've not heard of you, maybe they don't know who you are. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do currently.
Yeah, so my name's Lanre Sulola. I'm a business coach and leadership development practitioner. I'm really focused on helping individuals, organizations make an impact in their area, no matter what they're doing, no matter where they are. My organization is called Inner Ambitions. And Inner Ambitions, it comes from the belief that everyone has an inside ambition. Everyone has goals and talents and dreams. And it's not meant to be on the inside and die without being used, but actually it's meant to be out in the open for people to really experience the different skills, talents, and uniqueness that we all have. So I do that through training sessions, whether that's face-to-face, one-to-one coaching, helping people really understand their skills through assessments, and just having real conversations like this to put the mirror up sometimes and allow people to think, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to get to. So spend a lot of time in the business world. I'm also a poet as well, and I use spoken word to entertain, to inspire, to really get people thinking about what's important to them. And I use it just as a different way to express and reach parts that maybe people don't really think about. So I love doing it separately. I love putting them together. Share a little bit of my background. I didn't do this straight away. It came through a different journey. So it's good. It's a great life working for myself, building the business. I've got a young family as well, so they get me busy. Been married nearly 7 years now, and two young kids. Just
Wow,
getting
excellent.
to bed right now.
They're in bed. Do they stay in bed though at bedtime?
My son's good.
Okay.
My daughter's the one which is like she'll be like, oh, I'm not ready, and she'll find ourselves in our bed like last night. So still trying to work those ones out, but they're good. They keep us energized and happy.
That's good. That's fantastic. So family man, you've got children, you've got your business, and you do poetry as well. So we're going to get into some of the detail of these things and how it's come to pass that you've ended up doing them. But tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this whole coaching and the leadership development that you're doing right now. How did you get involved in that?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I actually started life as an accountant, so at PricewaterhouseCoopers, qualified there, but it wasn't a straightforward journey actually. But while I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers, there was this program called the Reach Development Program, set up in 2008. Labour were in charge at the time, and Hazel Blair's, she set up this program as part of Labour for black men to ultimately inspire other black men, young black boys, to basically say, if we could be successful in our work, in our careers, then actually others can do. And the job was to go around to schools, colleges, young offenders institutions. So it was a big government program. And I was one of the 20 Reach role models chosen from a a lot of people applied, but I was one of those chosen. And doing that sparked something in me. So I was an accountant at that time, and I was going through the whole slog of corporate clients and doing audits and getting my qualifications. But suddenly I was in this space in front of people, sharing my story, telling them about my life, and also hearing their stories and helping them understand what it is that they want to do. And I had that kind of light bulb thing. I was like, yeah, accounting's good. It's going to pay the bills, and it's a respectable career. But this gives me that energy. This gives me something that makes me want to wake up, want to do something. So the program only lasted a year because Conservatives came into power a year later, cut the program. But I was like, I just can't go back to what I was doing before. So I did carry on training and working on the corporate side, but I kept my network, I kept contacts I'd done work with. I began to build that up, and that led to me setting up Inner Ambitions. Over time, the work in the corporate world started to merge with the training I was doing, started to work with charities, smaller businesses, helping them on the financial side, also helping them with the leadership side. And then it came to a point where I was like, you know what? I need to spend my time doing what I know I love, doing what I feel I had a real calling and a purpose for. And over the years, it was just through making different decisions, small steps, till finally I said, okay, it's now time, and began coaching, and doors began to open. I began to meet people in the field. Few people that I still work with gave me the opportunity, even though I was quite a young guy at the time, a young black guy at the time. And to be honest, even in the field today, I'm not the typical leadership trainer. The demographic is different. They tend to be a little bit older, a little bit whiter than me as well. So to be in that space, it was, some people were taking a risk, but for me, it was just, this is where I need to be. And doors opened, new opportunities came, and here I am as a leadership trainer and coach. And at the same time, I started taking my coaching accreditations and training, building up my skills, building up my coaching hours to a place where I was actually ready to go out and get clients and deliver coaching sessions.
Wow, that's quite something. So you started off, so you saw the advert that the government were putting out, and you just applied for it, right? So you were an accountant, right, at the time?
Yeah.
So you thought, okay, let's just go for this, see what happens. And you were shortlisted. So did you kind of expect that, yes, this is definitely where I'm going to go? Or was this just kind of like a little side thing that you were doing?
Yeah, at the time it was like, this is of interest. I'd already, even before then, done a lot of stuff with schools or charities. So I was always interested in helping people. So all the CSR projects at work, I was always involved in. So for me, it was another opportunity to just spread my wings and do something different. I didn't think it would totally change the trajectory of my career, but once I started getting into it, I was like, yeah, there was no looking back. I found the thing that I knew that I'm here to really be doing.
Yeah, sure. So just for my sake, and I'm sure maybe for other people, you said CSR things. Can you explain what that is?
Also, that's corporate social responsibility. So
Sure.
working with big organisations like Westwoods and Coopers, they will do a lot of sort of charity work where they'll either go to a school or they'll help a small business or a charity, ultimately most of the time using your skills that you normally use to get paid for, but on a pro bono basis. So I was always the one putting my hand up saying, yes, I'm going to lead this project with this charity. I'm going to work with this young people group, because I had that thing inside of me to really want to help develop. So for me, it was natural to find other things where I can really sort of throw my energy and my passion into.
That's excellent. And that really does resonate with me in terms of the things I do. But also, I don't know if you watched the interview I had a couple of weeks ago with Mr. Des Ame. And one of the key things that he said that drives him is that he says he gets a buzz from helping people. And I think that's really important, because I think sometimes, in life, people can kind of get carried away with the whole finances, money side of things. And yes, everybody wants to achieve financial freedom. Everybody wants to be in a place where they have their time. And I like to facilitate helping people to achieve that, whatever way that looks like. But I think it says something that actually there's that consistency, that similarity there, that you're all kind of saying the same thing, in the sense that you wanted to help with these corporate social responsibilities and actually get out there and do pro bono work. That's, yeah, that's really commendable.
Yeah, I think the thing for me, what I think ultimately breeds success is energy, what energy you have. And there are different things that drive your energy. So the first one is passion. If you're not passionate about something, you're just not going to have that energy. And money, some people are passionate about money, so that will drive them to get to the top. But if that's not where your passion lies, you're not going to be at the best. You're not going to really show your strengths. And purpose is another one as well. But you've got to have a clear purpose. And I think for me, my purpose was to help people, to make a difference and an impact in people's lives. That gave that level of energy. Another one as well, I think, is progress. I saw when I was connecting with the different people, whether it's young people, whether helping a business, you can see the progress in their journey. And that was giving me energy. So I know every time we connect, you're not at the same place we were yesterday. I'm inspiring you to do something more. That gave that energy. Positivity is another thing that builds energy. And I could just see the positive impact that work had. So I'm like, this is for me. And another thing that builds energy is being present. And I think when you're present, when you're in the moment, when you actually know the impact you're having with those people, it's real life stories. Even now, being present in the moment, that builds energies. And I think when I was in those spaces, all of those things are being ticked off. Right. Maybe in other roles, you had elements here and there, but I think it's a beautiful thing when you fully find it, because it just propels you to the next level, I think.
Most definitely. Yeah. I want to talk a bit about the poetry, so to have a think about that for a second, but I just want to hit on a point that is quite real for a lot of people. Maybe they're in a position where they've got a job and they found that thing. It could be through voluntary work. It could be through an experience they've had while they're on holiday, etc. But they know that is really getting their energy going. They're really passionate about it. On a practical sense, what steps did you take to transfer from being an accountant, which is a solid, steady job, to making a go at it with your own business, being a coach? How did you make that transition?
It's funny looking back, and I think transferable skills are a real thing. And I think, in honesty, the skills that I was using as an accountant, and I developed as an accountant, some of those were laying a foundation for what I was going on to. So whenever I'm asked about my accountancy career and what I do now, I always say I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to train as an accountant, for the opportunity to open, because I think without that, I wouldn't be able to do what I do, have the credibility I have, and position myself in the way that I do. So I think some of the things that I did was, my accountant brain again was having a clear plan. And I was always writing down the vision. I had the vision down way before it even came into pass. I had the goals, I had the pictures, I had the vision statements of, this is what I'm going to be doing, this is who I'm going to be impacting. So when it actually happened, even now sometimes, like I've got books and diaries where it's written down, and I can go back to someone and say, wow, I wrote that in 2010. Now I'm seeing it. So I think a clear plan is really key, because otherwise you're just jumping into a minefield, and you could go left, you could go right. So know where you're walking. Took a lot of faith and belief. There were times when I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. And there was lots of frustrations, because I'm like most people, I want it now. When it doesn't come, there was that frustration of, oh my gosh, when it's going to come. So real faith and a lot of prayer as well. So saying like, God, please help me in this situation. But I think also taking those opportunities as well, meeting people, seeing things. So for example, the government program, seeing that as, this is opportunity. This is opportunity to stretch myself. This is opportunity to learn. This is opportunity to do something more. And the more you do that, building some courage to say, okay, if I take this risk and this step, what's it going to lead to? Where is it going to go? And I think people have been really key, because when I look back, every opportunity I've had, every piece of work I've done is because someone's opened the door for me, someone's introduced me to someone else. So nurturing network, using the network that I have as well is really key, because no one does it on their own. Even if it's some advice and support, or actually, yeah, as I say, introducing to someone, your people around you are always going to play an important part. So I think that those are some of the key things that have helped. And having, as I said, the energy as well. When you have, I remember having interviews or conversations and just being just so passionate about why I wanted to coach, why I wanted to work with some people, that people would comment and say, I can feel your passion, I can feel your energy, I'm going to give you a chance because there's something that I feel. And if you show that and if you express that, people can't but help give you that chance. If I go in and say, yeah, this coaching thing, I want to give it a try. Don't know if you got any like platforms or stages, you know what I mean? Already you've switched off. Already you're like, this is not the guy kind of thing. So you got to have something where people are like, you know what, I want to find out more. I want to connect with that person. And that brings life and that brings energy. So those are a couple of things that I think have just kind of helped me get to where I am today.
That's fantastic. So I've written down, you had a clear plan, you wrote it down. You stretched yourself, you used that word. You said you learned and you saw an opportunity and you saw it as an opportunity. You also said that it was unclear at times as well, but you still kept going. I think they're all key learning points, takeaway points for anybody watching this, because I think you can't ever achieve anything if you let any one of these things stand in your way. So if you're not willing to take an opportunity, if you're not willing to learn, if you're not willing to stretch yourself, if you're not willing to walk through the fog. I've just put up a post on the EJWAY Education Instagram page. Anybody who's not following that, follow that. And it is an image of the of mist over water, and it says your success is beyond the mist, but you can't read your success because it's merged with the fog. So so it's metaphor. I do that a lot with my posts. So it's for people who are looking close, like I hide little things in there, because we're in this kind of, we have a scroll mentality, just consume. So I post things a lot of times for people who will stop and think and focus, because there's a lot in that. And I think what you just explained does kind of, it encapsulates that image, you know, that whole, actually, are you going to move beyond this fog? Are you going to listen to other people telling you, don't go there? Are you going to continue even when it's unclear? And just being patient. I think that's excellent. I'm going to hone in more on that question, because there are some people who, for as much as that was a great answer, and I think it was a great answer, they're thinking, yeah, but what about the money? Yeah, so they're thinking, how do you transition from one job to the other? That's a big leap of faith. How did you make it work financially?
Yeah, as I said, there was being an accountant by trade, there's definitely an element of being mindful of what I was doing, where I was going, and having that clear plan. And my plans included financial plans. It included, all right, how am I going to make that money? How much money do I need to make? And as I said, it was a process of time. While I was an accountant, while I was training, I also worked as a consultant as well. After accountancy, before going into coaching and training, I was saving money, putting money aside to say, look, all right, this might take a year, this might take a couple of years of not earning as much, but I still wanted the same lifestyle. I still wanted to do the things I needed to do. So that having that saving and security was really important. Also, so it didn't make me turn back if the leadership and coaching was shaky for a little bit. And I was like, oh no, I made sure I had a buffer. And there were times when there weren't as much money coming in as I would have liked, but I had that buffer already. So I think having that clear plan, being quite prudent in the spaces that you can do it, I think those were important things to me. But then there's always that element of risk, of that this might not work, but I made sure I had everything in place to do that. And one of the things someone told me once, actually, that stuck with me and was really helpful at the time, and I was at a place where I was really itching to go and jump into doing things for myself. And I was with one of the consultancies at the time, as I said, a fantastic place to learn and develop. And I was itching to go. And I was speaking to a mentor of mine, and he said to me, look at this organization as if it's a supermarket, as if you're in Tesco and you're doing your shopping. And you want to make sure that you have every single item that you need in your trolley before you leave Tesco. Because what you don't want to do is, having left Tesco, gone home and realize that there's items that you should have bought and put in your trolley, because it's going to be a lot harder for you to go back and get them. So he said, use this place like that. Make sure you get everything you need so that when you are on your own, you're ready. You're ready to deal with clients. You're ready to talk in a professional manner. You're ready to put the slick presentations together that's going to build confidence. You know how to deal with issues. You know how to manage people. All of those things that are key to building a business, keeping clients, making more money, make sure you have it. And I think that probably made me stay where I was for another 1.5 years, because I realized, actually, if I bolt out now, I might be a bit naked here. There's not as much that I could get from such a good establishment. And I think sometimes we are in a little bit of a rush to get somewhere without the necessary skills. And that's where you get found out, because it's unforgiving. Working for your own is unforgiving. In the work that I do, if I mess up, if I go and deliver for a big client and it's not up to scratch, they're not going to call me back.
That's right.
So it might be okay getting one piece of work, but how about the second? How about the third, the fourth, the fifth? How about growing your network and referrals? So that's really important as well, your long-term plan and your sustainability as well.
No, that's a very good answer. I think, yeah, that analogy about the supermarket, I think it really does fit well. It's just about being patient, making sure that you have everything that you need in an environment that is giving it to you. And I guess it's kind of taking lessons as well, not just waiting for lessons to come to you, but just taking lessons from where you can and looking around and learning things. That's really good. I think I couldn't help but think about stockpiling loo roll in anticipation of a government lockdown, you know, where you're talking about getting everything you need from the supermarket. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's interesting because my story is slightly different. I haven't shared my story. I'm not about to, but mine was different in the sense that I was trying to prepare exactly in the way that you said. I felt like, right, okay, yep. And then at this time but actually the time was sooner. So it came before I expected. And all of a sudden you're just there and you have to survive. And I think that, yeah, I think this is what I've taken specific decisions. And one of them was to upskill and learn Forex trading, because actually, if you don't have savings, if you don't have lots of money there, how could you generate money from nothing straight away? So again, that was something that I've invested in myself to be able to do that. And yeah, but it's interesting hearing your story and the fact that you actually saved and you had that buffer there. Which then kept you through that transition to, having your own business.
There's different ways of doing it, of course. And even looking back, some of the courses I got to do while at my organization I work with helped me elsewhere. So there was development as well. There was learning as well going on to kind of feel like I'm ready. Not that you're ever 100% ready, because you're learning.
This is the other thing, because people kind of feel like there's this kind of elusive day of readiness that you wake up and on that day you are now ready, and you take that decision because you're fully prepared, you got everything ready. I seldom hear people that are ready. It's just a case of doing it, isn't it? You know, because you're never going to feel like you've got it all together. You just have to step out by faith, right?
Definitely. And I think it's dangerous if you feel you have it all together.
Yeah.
That's when you're most likely to get knocked down, because you're not on your game. Those times when I'm like, this is a big deal, this is high stakes, you can feel those butterflies. That's when you know you've got to be on your game and you're shot. So I think if that goes, then I've got to ask myself, am I being stretched? Am I in the right zone?
Right. Comfort zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Time to move. No time to move.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about the poetry then. So
Yeah.
how did all this start? Because you've got some high quality content. Like,
Mhm.
you know, you got some stuff and you need to rewind it back and listen to that again and kind of soak it up. And even the video qualities, you know, you've done it to a very high standard. So how did that all start? And like, how do you marry the two, like the coaching, the poetry and stuff?
Yeah, it's funny. It's actually, when I was younger, I used to like do little bits like music and singing and rapping, and I was an MC as well. Like we all were at one point.
Hold on. What over what
Garage
music?
MC. I was a
Garage
garage MC.
MC.
Yeah,
No, we're twins.
yeah. Used to be called the Lyrical Miracle. Back
No.
in the day. Yeah, yeah. So
Let me
friend,
not expose myself. Let me not
we've all
expose
been
my
there.
past. Oh
We've
my
all
goodness.
done it as well. So had a little bit of a music background, but then didn't do much. But still used to like freestyle and all that sort of stuff. But it really came out of poetry. It was interesting as an accountant, and I used to travel around the country doing audits. I used to spend quite a bit of time in hotels on my own after finishing work. So I'd be in random places around the country. And it gave me like more time just to think and reflecting on work, life, where I was going, all those things that just sometimes having a little bit of space and not rushing around allows you to do. And I remember one night I watched a film called The Great Debaters.
Hmm.
Recommend it, Denzel
Brilliant
Washington.
film. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just remember being really inspired by this. I thought, wow. And it was linked to the helping people, making an impact, making a difference. And I just remember getting a book out, like my diary, because I don't journal as much now, but I used to write a lot, just thoughts, feelings, expressions. And at the end of the film, I literally just found myself writing like nonstop. Um, and then I looked at it and it was like basically a poem, and it's called Inside of Me. It's one of my first poems, and I perform a lot of the time, even to today. And I just wrote it, closed the book and put it away. And then a few months later, I just went back to the book and I was reading it again. I was like, I kind of need to share this. I just felt a need that there's something in here that I need to share with other people. So a friend of mine at the time was doing an open mic poetry night, and I called her up and said, "Oh, can I be on your lineup?" And she goes, "Yeah, there's an open mic slot you can get on." And I remember performing this poem, and at the end of it, a lot of people came up to me and were like, "Wow, that really resonated with me. That touched me." And they couldn't believe that was my first time on stage, like sharing a poem. And kind of something in me was like, I've just got to keep on doing this. And from there, I kept writing in my little book, kept performing more and more, kept getting the reactions from people, and just grew from there. I then put a CD together called Inner Ambitions, set to music. I put an event on, had a packed out event in South London. And I was like, okay, this is something that I need to do, because I really found it as a way to express. People would say I'm not always the best at expressing how I'm feeling or what's going on, but when it came to poetry, I was kind of like, it just felt really easy, and there was like no holding back on just letting the guard down. So yeah, just kept performing. People then started asking me to come to events or asking me to write for their birthdays, different occasions. And then before I know it, I was like, yeah, this is what I do. And I started bringing it into sessions as well sometimes. And again, just the reaction and the connection that it had with people made me feel that, yeah, this is a part of me as well. And this is something that I need. This is my inner ambition, if you like, that I need to let out for people to see, and not for me to just hold it in there. And with the videos, just thinking of different ways to be creative. I wrote a short play last year, or a short film with poetry in it as well, just looking at different ways to show actually what's inside of me and to touch people. And ultimately, it's to inspire people, it's to touch people, and just to leave my message. Because when I leave this earth, whenever it is, I want there to be a legacy of what I said and what I stood for, what I believed, and for other people to share that. So that's why it's there, and that's what I do, really.
That's amazing. That really is. And it's inspiring too, because you say that people described you as someone who you didn't really express yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say I keep most of my things to myself. I'm not someone who's gonna blab out, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's going on. But with the poetry, it's just different. It's like I feel that this is my space to share what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what's going on, and it's natural. It's natural.
Hmm.
I don't know why that is. It's just the way it is, and that's how I. So if you want to know what I'm thinking, you got to get me to write a poem. If you ask me, I might not tell you, but from writing a poem, you might get that out.
That's good to know. Your wife knows that, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Drop some lyrics. Now that's really great. I think there's a huge element of risk taking when it comes to exposing artistry, right? So that first moment that you've decided, actually, I'm going to make this public. Okay, it's
Yeah,
all right. Maybe doing it at an open mic, but when you post it online,
yeah,
that's like exposing it to the world. Like,
yeah,
so you see, any troll could get on there and just
yeah,
tell you about yourself, right?
yeah.
How did that feel? How did you get over that? Was it easy? Was it fine?
I think, and this is where I think some of the poetry that I do and the leadership and the coaching that I do, that, as I said, also about the inner ambition and about everyone having a purpose, everyone being on this earth for a reason. And we only get a short amount of time. So it's about being yourself and bringing what you have. And I believe that no one can do what you do the same or meant to do. So it's kind of, in a way, reminding myself that actually this is my gift to the world. This is what I have. This is my talent that I'm meant to really use and stretch. And if I don't do that, I know I'll be wasting it. So the fear of wasting what I had and not using it was greater than the fear of being exposed, or someone's not going to like it, or it's not going to fit, or whatever. That drives me more. Saying, actually, I want to look back on all that I do and know that, you know what, with everything that I had, I gave it my all. I did my best. And if some people don't like it, might hurt at the time, but ultimately, I know there's a bigger picture to it all.
Excellent. So it is all about that bigger picture, isn't it? It's about the legacy. Um, yeah, as you said, doing public things, it means you're up for scrutiny. But
Mm.
when you've got that bigger picture in mind, I guess you kind of get over it, don't you? You get over it. But yeah, that's really that's amazing. I think you mentioned the fact that you've kind of brought in the poetry to some of the coaching things that you do as well. Tell us how that works, especially in a corporate setting. Is that something they expect? Is that kind of greeted with, "Oh, this is wonderful"? Or and you mentioned before, as being a member of the Black Asian ethnic minority, being in that space, that corporate development coaching space, you've mentioned that before. So that was obviously a thing for you in terms of maybe your own self-esteem. To
Mm.
then go this step further and bring in this creative element, how did that go down the first time?
Yeah,
And what made you think, right, this will go down well? What
yeah.
was the decision making?
I think I have to be me, and it was like, I know it's a crowded market, and I always in mind is, what is going to make people stand up and take notice? What are they going to remember me for? And that was it, really. It's like, if I want to share my story, if I want to be me in this space in front of them, I need to be vulnerable myself. And I remember the first time I did it is for a client, and they wanted to take on some trainers, and I shared the poem, and they afterwards they said they were totally like blown away by it. And I think whatever you do, you just got to own it. So I when I'm sharing, I go in with confidence and like, this is me, this is me, this is me. I'm going to share my story with you, and I'm going to captivate you, because this is my thing. So you're here right now. And I think having that power, that poise, and that confidence that actually this is my voice, and this is the way, the format that I'm going to share this message, you're going to accept it, you're going to take it, and you're going to use it for your own good. So it's when I've done it, people have stood up and taken notice. I've done it in front of 300 people in business conferences and just brought it out there. And again, connecting the dots, using it to share a message. I think people appreciate the creativity around it. People appreciate the skill and the work, and it works. So I have to make it fit. There's no point just throwing it in from nowhere. There's a reason and a purpose, and there's a story weaved into it. But it works. And again, it's about finding you and putting it into the mix and letting people take it and not worry about what someone might think or feel. So I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it. But more than anything, I want it to leave an impact on someone. To look away, there was a message behind that. I'm going to take that away. I'm going to use that to find me. I'm going to use that to really take myself up a notch and do whatever I do on whatever my space. And even up on my wall here, I've got like a vision board with pictures of things that are important to me. And my strapline is owning my stage, captivating my audience. So as a poet, I'm on stage and I'm captivating my audience. As a trainer, as a leadership coach, I'm on stage and my role is to captivate my audience. And it's finding the right tools to do that.
That's fantastic. I love the fact that you have a vision board. I love the fact that you've got a slogan on there. I'm totally stealing that idea.
You look at it and it's like, yeah, I've got my family on there. I've got my wife and children there.
Yeah.
And I think just reminds you in terms of what's important to you.
That's amazing. That's really good. And I think, it's that old saying, if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're not going to stand out. And it's a similar thing as you're talking in terms of incorporating poetry within that corporate training coaching sphere. You kind of think of why not? In back in the days, it was Rudy Ray Moore and Muhammad Ali that partnered up, and then they brought poetry into boxing. It wasn't there before. It wasn't a thing to actually have poetry as part of your description of how you're going to beat someone up in a boxing ring. But it sure made him stand out. And then actually he had to then back that up with his performances in the ring. And I think that, as you said, if you're in this space, you come in there as an ethnic minority, you are trying to do your best as a human being, and you're going to try and make the best effort that you can. So being the best you that you can be means using everything that's within your arsenal to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree. And as I said, there's spaces where I am in the minority, but if you allow that to cloud everything, you're never going to rise. You're never going to have the confidence that you need to have the impact that you want. So always pushing. A lot of work I do around inclusion and diversity is to help organizations look at actually what's the culture here? Are we providing opportunities for everyone? And also to give people from different backgrounds the confidence to say, actually, I do have the skills, I do have the talents. What steps can I continue to make to open those doors? So it's a two-way thing. We're not there yet, but I think it's on people like myself who have these opportunities to keep on pushing and taking hold of those opportunities and just running with it. And showing, as you say, showing people a different way and ripping up the rules book sometimes and being okay with it. If it doesn't work sometimes, you learn from it. I've made mistakes, I've learned from it. And sometimes they're really good stories for yourself and for others to say, look, this can happen, this will happen, still here, still surviving, still living, still thriving. So it's that progression. Sometimes we're surviving, but ultimately we want to be thriving.
That's right. That's right. Excellent. I thought you were about to break out into some freestyle poetry there.
Really.
Yeah, before we close out, you're going to have to give us one of your poems as well. But I've got a couple more questions just to close out. Is it easy running your own business? I know you were an accountant by trade. So obviously certain elements of that would have been easier than non-accountants like myself. But how do you find it running your own business?
It's challenging. It's definitely challenging. One of the biggest challenges is how do you split yourself? When you work with a big company, you've got a finance team, marketing team, sales team, delivery team, different functions doing everything for you. You come on your own, you're now doing everything for yourself. So how to sort of split your time is one of the key things for me. And how do you have that balance for other things as well? And that's difficult, that balance, because it's something you think about all the time. So that's one of the challenges, having to know when to switch off and knowing, okay, when's enough is enough, when to bring in other people to help. So now there was a time when I was doing everything myself and I realized I'm going to burn out. Now outsourcing things, whether it's design stuff, whether it's other things to help with delivery, having the right people on board. So that's helping, but it still is difficult. And then the unknowns, like you have a job most of the time, okay, you know what you're doing and you're going to get paid at the end of the month. This is no guarantee. You could have the perfect product, but clients just aren't ready for it at the moment, for example. Or you could have something like coronavirus and people say, actually, we don't want to come to an event anymore. We want to stay in our home. And you're thinking, oh, this might impact business, because if no one wants to come to
this is it. I do have to confess, I'm looking at my event that I've advertised. I'm looking at my ticket sales. It's not moving as fast as it usually does. I think people are kind of wondering what's happening with that. And I think this is one of those situations where you can either stop living or you can carry on living. Obviously, everybody has to be sensible. You have to, be mindful. But I think, at the end of the day, I guess an infection is very different from a cold. It's quite serious to catch an infection. But either way, sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, but I'd say this is just some of the challenges, and this is having the right processes. So working for yourself, everything does not come just like that. Even when you're winning clients and getting awareness, all of this takes time to build trust, for people to really know your brand and what you stand for. All of this is going to take numerous conversations, pilots, tests, and it's just having that sort of resilience sometimes to deal with the lean months, to deal with people saying, actually, I don't quite understand, what is it you do? Continually trying to chase and put yourself out there to build the business. So it really is a lot of effort. And you've got to deal with sometimes the knocks where, for example, something doesn't go as well, or you think you sold something and in the last minute there's a change of mind. All of those things you have to deal with, and so actually we're going to keep on going. So it is really challenging, but at the same time, it's one of the most rewarding things that I've done, to know that actually you can take something from scratch that only you thought of and designed and put together, and are actually seeing it have an impact on people, actually generating money from it, that actually I'm making a living from my sort of dream, my ideas, my work, is a fulfilling thing to have as well. So it's challenging, but it's risk and reward.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So this is the second morning. Get a poem ready. Have a think about which poem you're going to do. This is the last question. So what would you advise someone who is in a job, they're in their main job, they felt that energy, that buzz, as you described before, in something else. They want to try and do that thing. They want to go it alone, but they haven't quite got the guts to do it, or maybe they're feeling it's not the right time. Maybe they're promising themselves. Maybe they said last year, 2020, I'm going to do it. And now we're in March and they still haven't done it. What would you advise those people?
Yeah. First thing I would say is recognize what that thing is. Is it just a flash in the pan? Is it because, you saw someone else do something, you quite like the idea? Or is this something that is a bit deeper? Is this something that is telling you that, look, this is something that's going to be important. This is something. So it's that reflection time to understand yourself first. And once you've got that sense of, actually, this is not just a little bit of a flash in the pan or a little bit of a buzz, this is something I actually do want to try, then put in place the framework to make it happen. And step by step, could be testing, could be an idea or product or service, whatever it is. Can you test it with a smaller population? Can you do it on the side, so you're still working, you're still doing your day-to-day? I know many people at the moment who are they're studying something else on the side in the evenings or weekends. They've got a little side hustle because they have that feeling. And at the moment, it's in the small phase, but if they carry on doing it, keep on watering it, doors will open up. I'd say also talk about it as well. The more you talk about these things, not only will you hear what you're saying, not only are you actually telling yourself what you're interested in, where you want to go, you never know who you're meeting. And that's what I found a lot of. The more I used to speak about it, the more I was kind of making a commitment for myself. But the doors open up. People will come along your journey to say, actually, I'm hearing what you're saying. Meet this person, or here's an opportunity to do that. So be open to those opportunities, because only takes one person, takes one door for you to open up. So I would say do that. Just test it, move forward, be brave. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, because the likelihood is you'll make a mistake or something might not go to plan, but go again. I was reading somewhere and I think it was a little bit linked to business, but different. And it was someone was telling me about Chinese, it was maths, I think, and Chinese students versus Black British students or British students. And what they said, on average, those Chinese students will attempt a maths question, I think 8 times as much as the British student. And it just showed something that actually, and that's probably why they're doing so well in education, that failure is not a barrier to their success. They kind of see it as, to get to that success, you have to fail, you have to persist and be resilient, and then you'll finally get to the answer, as opposed to maybe some of us here who at the first hurdle give up. And I think it's having that thing in our heart to say, look, no matter what, going to keep going. Might need to tailor, might need to adapt or shift it, but it's going to get there. And if you look at any successful business, no business has made it 100% on that first idea, on that first brainstorm. It's been tweaked, it's been adapted and honed until it meets the right audience, reach the right market. So all of those things I'd say just have in mind, and then you'll get there. You'll get there.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you so much for sharing. And that is an excellent answer. I think there's so much that people can get from this interview. Before we end it, I've given you a couple of warnings. Have you got a poem ready?
I'll do a small one. I'll do a bit of I mentioned one before, so I'll do a little bit of that one.
Fantastic. Thank you. This is professionalism right here, because I didn't ask you beforehand or anything. So this is straight off the bat. Thank you very much, sir. Take it away. Go ahead.
It's called Inside of Me. This fire that burns inside of me, this flame that lights, this flame that flickers, this flame that keeps my soul warm in the cold nights and the hard times, this flame that leaps and jumps and twists and turns and ever so slightly tingles until those tingles yearn and burn, blazing forevermore. This fire inside of me, I don't know where it wants to go, but it wants to grow. What are dreams made of? Who writes their scripts and storylines, who takes these plots and plants them into our hearts? I'm not an actor, but I got a role to play. I'll be here today, but gone tomorrow. It's someone else's turn tomorrow, so why waste today? Because I'm here today. What are dreams made of? Who writes their scripts and their storylines? I'm not an actor, but I have a role to play. I feel the need to express, digest, and progress, and use all I have learned to the full. Because inside of me is more me than you'll ever see from my outward appearance. So when I want you to see me, I mean me, which is inside of me. So inside of me speaks, I know I must listen, because that's me, that is me, that is me.
Holding back. I had to hold myself.
Yeah, I was going to stop there, but then, as I said, that thing inside of me is, just do a little more, do a little more.
Almost interrupted. You performed in places like poetry places. People make noise while you're doing the poem, right? Yeah. I almost did one of those. Yeah. So, no, fantastic. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, we'll talk more again after this interview, but thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Honing Block. I appreciate it. Everybody who's watching live, hello to you. Do you know somebody called Lanre Sulola, by the way?
Yes, my mum.
Yes, I thought you were going to say shout out to mommy there.
Yeah, shout out to mum. I have to mention them as well. Without them, parents and family, I definitely wouldn't be where I am and doing what I'm doing. So their support has been really instrumental in what I'm doing. They run their own business as well. So again, it's good. It's really important to have strong role models that you can look up to and go to when you need that support and help. So yeah, glad there.
Fantastic. That's a shout out to the family, Sulola family. All right, then. So thank you so much. I'm going to sign off from the live feed to all those who are on the Honing Block. Thank you so much for joining us.